I see here a river
de agua divinas.
of divine waters.
Una inmensa mayoría de jóvenes,
The great majority
muchachos,
of
de muchachas.
young people, youngsters.
Y Rubén Darío
And Ruben Darío
en uno de sus poemas
in one of
tiene
his
una
poems
estrofa que dejó:
has a verse that
Juventud
reads,
divino tesoro.
"Youth, a divine treasure."
Y efectivamente así es.
And
En la
that's
juventud
how it is.
está,
Youth
por su compromiso, por su conciencia,
is due to their commitment, their consciousness, their dedication
en el estudio, en las
to
luchas
overcome
sociales, en la lucha
social
por la
fights,
soberanía,
to study, to the
en la
fight for
lucha
sovereignty,
por la
the fight
independencia.
for independence.
Ahí está la fuerza,
There
ahí está
is
la
the
magia
strength
de la
and the
juventud.
magic of youth.
Y por eso es que
And that is why
las revoluciones a lo largo de la historia
the revolution throughout history,
han sido encabezadas,
revolutions have been headed
se han multiplicado
and have
con ellas
multiplied.
los jóvenes.
Along with them, young
Y
people.
Nicolás era un muchacho
And Nicolás was a young
cuando
man
se inició.
when this happened.
Y aquí están los resultados.
And here we have the results.
Con esta juventud, con este pueblo,
This youth, these
con
people,
este partido
this party,
socialista,
this socialist
con la fuerza
party,
de Bolivia,
with the strength of
la Bolivia que
Bolivia,
Bolívar
I mean,
reivindicó, con la fuerza de los héroes, de
with the
los
strength
mártires.
of the heroes and martyrs.
En estos tiempos,
In these
nuevos
times,
tiempos,
new times,
donde como
where,
dijo otro poeta
as
sandinista,
another Sandinist poet said,
refiriéndose a Andrés Castro.
referring to Andrés Castro,
Andrés Castro, un sargento,
a sergeant, a young man,
luchando contra
fighting against
los invasores yanquis en
the
Nicaragua.
North American invaders in Nicaragua.
Y son cosas increíbles.
And these are incredible things.
El yanqui invadió Nicaragua.
North Americans invaded Nicaragua.
Querían apoderarse de la ruta del canal,
They wanted to take
una ruta que se había
the
abierto
canal
porque estaba
route, a route that was open due to the Gulf fever that happened in the United States. And North Americans were traveling throughout the desert from the west to the east coast, and it was very dangerous. There was indigenous resistance, yet criminals and a North American businessman had the idea. He had the idea to open a route from New York to the coast of Nicaragua, and people in vessels, then in small boats over San Juan River, a river that flows throughout the border and ends in Nicaragua's lake, and from Nicaragua's lake to what it is the Pacific Ocean. Then this company organized in such a way that the passage that came from New York and they're there in the coast of the Caribbean Sea, and from there in boats, small boats, they crossed the river, the lake, and that's how they arrived in the Pacific coast, where boats on vessels of the Yankee Empire were there that were transported to the west coast, east coast, where the gold fever was. And then the businessmen of the United States came allied with South forces of the United States the slavery forces that were being defeated. He came and moved to Nicaragua. Who took him to Nicaragua? Those who sell their homeland. There's always this kind of people. They took him there thinking that he would be useful for them. And when the North American was with his troops there in Nicaragua, what he did was start to fight those who didn't want the Yankee to take power of Nicaragua, and the ones who took this person there were killed. They didn't take him to rule Nicaragua, but as a mercenary of them. And what the North Americans did then, they created an election. They elected in one of those fake elections where those members of the Electoral Council were North Americans themselves. Those counting votes were they as well. So they elected the leader of the North Americans. They elected him as president of Nicaragua. What a shame. And Nicaragua was independent from Spain in 1821. And slavery was over. But when Walker took office, the first thing he did was imposing slavery in Nicaragua. And he started to try to end the Nicaraguan people who fought. And in a famous battle that is part of the history of Nicaragua, on September 14th, 1854, in that battle in San Jacinto, all children and young people commemorate that battle because in that battle, Yankees were defeated. They had better ammunition and more experience in war, and they were fighting when the North Americans wanted to cross the border where Nicaraguans were. There was a mixture of Nicaraguans of mixed race with indigenous people known as Flecheros of Matagalpa, who arrived there to defend Nicaragua. And there, when Yankee attacked
el sargento Andrés Castro,
Sargento Andrés
un
Castro,
joven. Andrés agarra una piedra,
a young man.
deja ir la piedra y lo
He
derriba.
takes
Y de ahí viene
a
entonces
stone and throws it
David a Goliat.
as David and Goliath.
Y de ahí luego un compañero nuestro,
And then a
poeta,
partner of ours,
revolucionario, Fernando Gordillo,
a revolutionary, Fernando Gordillo,
escribió un poema
wrote a poem,
y al final
and
decía,
in the end it
y es un
read.
poema que sigue siendo
And it's a
válido,
poem that is still
porque no
valuable
podemos
because we
confiarnos.
cannot trust.
Andrés le decía
Andrés
en el poema,
said in the
Andrés,
poem,
a un siglo de distancia,
a century
el enemigo es el mismo.
ago, the enemy is the
Lanza la
same.
piedra, lánzala,
Throw
el
the
enemigo
stone,
es el mismo.
throw the stone, the enemy is the same.
Y aquí la piedra la han lanzado
And
todos
here
ustedes,
you have
hermanos,
through the stone,
dándole
all of
el
you
voto
voting
al
for
presidente
President
Nicolás
Nicolás Maduro.
Y para el día de hoy que tenían programado
And
ellos
for
traer
today, they have
a otro
planned
William Walker para
bring in
imponerlo
another
en
William
lugar de
Walker
Nicolás. ¿Quién
to
está aquí?
take office
¿Acaso
instead
el
of
piloto?
Nicolás. Who
El
is
pirata.
here? The pirate.
Aquí está
Here
David.
is
Aquí está el héroe.
David,
Aquí está
the
el
hero,
revolucionario.
the revolutionary Nicolás Maduro Moros. And here is Chavez, and here is Bolivar, and here are the Venezuelan heroes. Long live youth of Venezuela.